Hello, friend. Hi. I have not done this in so long. It has been a while, and it has been a year, and I'm sure it has been maybe not, but I'm sure it has been a year for you too. And I really just wanted to show up on here and to give you a bit of encouragement. I think for me, and I'll get into all of it, but it has been quite a year, and the main thing that I wanted to encourage you with today is just how real God is in the midst of everything. So so let's hop right into it, and let's get the ball rolling. Let's do it. As you can see, I haven't done this in a while, but yeah, this year has just been, I think it's been a hard year for me. It's been one of those years where it really is, it just hits you, you know. And this is specifically, like, I am talking to the person who is just going through it, who is really in that hard place, who you're like, wow, this, like this has never been this hard for me until this year, or until this time, or until this happened. And it doesn't matter what triggered it, it doesn't matter what caused it. But you know, in that moment, it's I was doing a course, they call it a crisis of belief, but I truly believe that most people, if not all, have this moment where they have this crisis of belief, and you have to decide for yourself, is this God that I say is God gonna be God for me? You know, do I truly believe what I speak? And so I think that's what this year has kind of been for me, you know. A big chunk of this year, and all of this started right at the beginning of the year, like in March. But just I got to this point where I had to ask myself, do I truly believe in all this that I say? You know, is God real for me? And I'm not gonna lie, I wrestled for a long time. I wrestled not because I didn't know that God wasn't real, not because I didn't believe that he wasn't real, but because I had to wrestle with, do I believe that he's God? And do I believe that he's my protector, and that what he's asking me to leave behind, the way he's asking me to do things, is the right way, and is the best way, you know? And so I really just wanted to encourage you if you're in that place. And for me, I think, you know, at the time, this was in March, and it was such a little thing that kind of like that really just exposed all of this. But for me, I found myself in that place, and it kind of felt like a lot of things had, you know, almost like the security that I had built, which is very important, not God, that I had built, the way of doing things that I had built, that was kind of shattered a bit. And I was there, and I was like, it just feels like, you know, this has been shattered, which, you know, that sounds big and crazy, and it wasn't a big and crazy thing, but for me in that moment, it felt like that. And I had to personally, for the first time in my life of serving in the church, I had to take a step back, and take a pause in serving for a while, because I just found myself in this place where I was metaphorically bleeding all over the place. I could sense that, like, okay, there is something going on underneath all of this. And I don't know if I'm ready to deal with that, or rather, I know I have to deal with it now, because I don't want to be 40 years old and being one of those bitter people who goes, so back when I was 19, this happened, and you know, and you're still bitter, and it can be the littlest of things. But I took a step back, and you know, I did the work. I spent time with God. I really kind of like dealt with everything. And then I jumped back into serving. You know, I took like 5 weeks off, and it was great, and it was kind of weird because I was always serving, and then I jumped back into everything, and I expected everything to go back to the way it was. And just, it's interesting because God can heal in an instant, and I'm talking emotionally, but God can heal in an instant, but he can also heal in a process. And for me this time, it was a process. And so I expected to be back and better than ever, and everything to be okay, but it wasn't. It really wasn't. And so that's from like April, that's kind of what I was battling with. And I knew that the Lord was telling me to give up certain things, that he was asking me for my whole heart, that he was asking me to let things go. And I was like, Lord, I've done it my way. I've done it my way. And I just don't know if I want you, like if I'm ready to let that go. Like I feel like I don't trust you. And it was, and it was a process for me, and I really, really wrestled with that. And so anyway, and in this time period as well, I started a course, my life group started a course called Experiencing God, which also just had such a major, it was such a God timing, because it really took you through like, love is obedience, and you have to decide for yourself if you're going to be obedient and if you love God like with all your heart and mind and soul. And it was just, so crazy. But it basically, all of this brought me to this point. And what I've now realized, and what the Holy Spirit has helped me realize, and, through just working through things, and for a long time I avoided it after all that, like April, June, school was busy, and I avoided it. I pushed things down. I was like, Lord, I don't want to deal with this, because I know when I sit down and when I have to deal with it, it's going to be real, and I'm not ready for that. And so, eventually started dealing with things. But what I realized is that, and this started in March, but I was always good at, turning things in a positive way. And just, excuse me, oh, okay, this sucks, but like this, and that's great, and let's move on. I was good at that until I wasn't. And what I realized was that I was good at being God until I wasn't, because I can't be God, I had built things in my life, and I was so intent on doing things my way. And I was the one who motivated myself. I was the one, I did things in God's strength, but not fully in his strength. I was the one who got myself through this, who got myself through that. And that can only last so long. And so back in March, when something so tiny just triggered all of this, because when you're building things in your own strength, that will only last so long. And for me, it lasted till I was 19 years old, and then that's when it really hit me, and I really had to go back, and for a long time. And when you're pouring out of, and when you are the one who's fulfilling yourself, you're the one who you're using your own strength, you can take a mini break and feel refreshed, but then you'll be depleted right away. And so that's just a bit about my year. And I think the whole thing it came down to was just trusting God. Do I truly trust God with my whole life? When God says, I am God, I am that I am, do I trust that? Do I truly believe in that? Because it's one thing to say it, and it's one thing to live it out when life is easy. It's even one thing to live it out when life is a bit harder, but it's something completely different to live it out when life gets real and life gets really, really hard. And I've also been stuck in the Psalms lately. I found it a bit harder to read my Bible, but a place that I've just been so stuck in, and that just keeps coming over and over and over, is Psalms. And so Psalms 19, when I read this, I was just like, wow. It says, the law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The decrees of the Lord are firm, and all of them are righteous. They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold. They are sweeter than honey from the honeycomb. But by them your servant is warned. In keeping them there is great reward. But who can discern their own errors? Forgive my hidden faults. Keep your servant also from willful sins. May they not rule over me. Then I will be blameless, innocent of great transgression. May these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. And the fact that, Psalms are so good. If you haven't read the Psalms, you really need to. And a lot of it is, God is my rock, my redeemer, my shepherd, all of these cool things which I've needed in this time. But this is just so specific. And it was David who is saying, like, the law of the Lord is perfect. It brings life. It brings joy. It's like refreshing to the soul, all of these things. And for the longest time ever, I was just like, I feel like I need to give up all of this. I need to give up control another big thing, control. I know that I need to give up control, but I don't know if I'm ready for it. I don't know if I can trust God with it, and just all of these things. And I just had to get to this point where I was like, I only have two options. I can give up control and trust God and do it His way, or I can stay in this place and I can try and be fulfilled by all of these other things. And let me just tell you, I will be the first to tell you, I have done it the world way, I have done it God's way, and the world's way or anything other than God will only fulfill you for a certain time. And then it won't. I tried, trust me. I was like, Lord, I do not want to do it your way. I don't want to give up this control. I don't want to give this up, because it feels like, Lord, it feels like this is what's in my control. And because already it felt like everything around me was not in my control. This is what I was holding on to. This is the control I was holding on to. And I was really like, God, if I give up this control, what next? I feel like nothing, I won't be able to have control over anything, and I just in that you can be so honest with God. If anything, this year has just kind of like sandpaper rubbed my heart raw, where I am crying all the time to God, but that's another thing. But like, you can just be so honest with God. You can shout at Him, you can scream at Him, you can tell Him, God, I don't know if I can trust you. You can be so honest with Him, because He is God, and He can handle that, and He wants that communication. And only once you're honest with Him, truly honest with Him, can the healing begin, can He start to work in your heart. And so, I just wanted to pop on here, not the perfect setting, not the perfect anything, but just truly being honest. And I think before all of this, I was very kind of like fluffy, like I was deep, but like not real, and I think, man, I don't have it in me to not be real. I don't have it in me, when things suck, like, it's okay to say things suck, or this sucks, or this isn't great, it's okay. It's okay to cry, it's okay to release that, but it's not okay to do it alone, and it's not okay to do it without God. And so I really, really just wanted to encourage you that God is real, and when you need Him to be real, when life really, really gets real and things are spinning out of control, or things are just crazy, or it feels like, wow, like I am so scared, I don't have control for the first time in my life, all of these things, you can trust God to be real in that, but you have to be real with Him too. You have to the things He's calling you to let go of, and I truly believe that, like, what that is, you have to just choose for yourself, is God going to be worth it, or is He not? And He is worth it, He really, really is, but you have to decide for yourself, and that's a decision you have to make for yourself. And so, and I think I used to be such a big believer that, like, only when things are perfect, then you can show up, only when you've got your life perfectly in order, then you can be on, for me, like, create things for social media, only when you're perfect can you get into a relationship, or can you serve, all these things, but God uses imperfect people. And I'm not saying if you're, like, metaphorically, of course, bleeding all over the place, and you just know you need to take a step back, and you need to stop serving, and you need to really focus on healing things in here. This is where your heart is. Don't take that time. That was another thing as well. I was also always like, you serve through everything, on the flip side of this, kind of contradictory, honestly, but sometimes you need to take a step back, and you need to heal, and you need to really sit with God, and that's okay. And so whatever you got from that, that's cool. And I think, it kind of, all of my 2021 kind of might not make sense in the way I've said it. I hope it does make sense, but that's been my year, and it's okay to have grace with yourself. It's okay for it to be a hard season. It's okay for you to struggle with things, but it's not okay to stay there. as my brother always says, it's not okay to stay there. And so I really just wanted to encourage you with that. And I've set a challenge for myself. I'm very good at starting things and jumping into things and coming up with exciting new things, but not always good with continuing them. And I really have just set a challenge for myself for a year. I want to be consistent on here for a year, and whether that's posting a video every 2 weeks, once a month, whatever that is, every week, just to be consistent. I wrote down, oh, it's over there. Anyway, I wrote down, I think you can see it over there. I wrote down this thing, and it was, what if you truly just went for it? Or and then there's another quote that I read recently that just said, the worst thing is to look back and know you could have done better. And so I really, really just want to show up, because you can't, and the amount of times that I have, I'm rambling, so I'm going to wrap this up. The amount of times that I have heard someone speaking about something that's happened to them or something that's happening in their life currently, and it's almost given me a silent permission to open up as well. That's kind of what I want to do here, and that's what I really want to do, to honestly be real, and once I've processed things, of course, and like process things in community, but to be real and to say, hey, I've struggled with this, or this has been hard, or this and this and this, but here I am. And so yeah, friend, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of this. Honestly, I hope you didn't see me, but you saw God through all of it. And yeah, and don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously as well. Life is crazy and life can be really hard, and so laugh at yourself here and then, or all the time like I do. But yeah, have a great week, friend. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and please, like, if you're struggling and you don't have community, send me a DM, pop me a message. Community is so important. I think actually the next video should be on community and friendships and all of that, because another area that God has just been working so beautifully in my life. But yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye.